Hey guys, welcome back to Science Skills and Life Skills with Vikhyath. So this video will be a continuation of the presentation skill series. So in the last video we had learned about focusing on our objectives, identifying your audience and building your presentation structure and how the design of your presentation slide should be. So in this video we'll be learning about presenting effectively, managing your nerves and dealing with the unexpected. So how do I present more effectively? So after you have designed your deck, your next step is to present it effectively. So you can make wonderful preparations but still not meet your objective if your delivery style is ineffective. What matters is how you transfer that knowledge to the audience. So in this topic, you will learn techniques for speaking and relating to your audience to deliver your presentation effectively. What's the connection between delivering a presentation and jazz? So jazz is based on a clearly understood melody. At the same time, jazz is improvised. The artist doesn't play every single note exactly as written. Jazz is flexible and it can change depending on various factors. So the clearly understood melody in jazz is equivalent to your presentation slides and notes. Similarly, the presenter doesn't have to read the slides notes word for word. And as a presenter, you will have to respond to the audience questions and unexpected problems without getting rattled. Here are a few techniques to present effectively. Using evocative language, telling great stories, using physical props or distinctive visual images, engaging your audience in discussion, and speaking and moving in a controlled but lively manner. So, let's discuss the first technique using evocative language. So, suppose we are talking about World War One or World War Two or any war for that matter. When presenting, we can say, those brave soldiers defended their motherland ferociously so that the invaders couldn't invade their motherland. So, the way you tell out the words invokes a sense of feeling to the audience. So, using evocative language is very important. It is also proven that when you tell stories, the audience remembers your topic better. So you can use stories as a tool to reinforce your topic. Using physical props or distinctive visual images helps reinforce your topic and the audience remembers the topic better. For example, Steve Jobs, who wanted to present the MacBook, came up with a very creative idea to present it. So he took something similar to an envelope and placed the MacBook inside it. And once he came on stage, he showed the envelope and asked the audience what they thought might be in it. After that, he took out the MacBook in the envelope to show how thin the MacBook was, and the audience just loved it. So, that is another way by which you can attract the attention of your audience. Engaging your audience in discussion is something similar to telling great stories and also in using evocative language. Very much similar. And speaking or moving in a controlled but lively manner is also very important. This is where a non-verbal language called body language comes into picture. You should make an impression on the audience that you are glad to present the presentation to the audience. So the non-verbal language is also very important. And all great presenters tend to use most of these techniques, if not all. So topic 7, managing your nerves. So even the most experienced presenters feel nervous in presenting. But there is a way to harness this negative energy and tension in a positive manner and deliver your presentation excellently. Generally, people are most nervous during the first 5 minutes. Learning about nervousness. The following graph shows the impact of nervousness during a presentation. Nervousness is at its peak during the first 5 minutes, as you can see here. So, your nervousness picks up days before your presentation, 10 minutes before the presentation, and once the host introduces you to the audience, your nervousness is at the peak for the first 5 minutes. But then later, you start to get more comfortable. The nervousness leaves you, and you feel more comfortable with the audience. So, for most people, nervousness peaks as the presentation begins, as discussed. So this is a tough time to be distracted by nervousness because this is when you're making that all important first impression, which is body language. But don't worry, it only lasts a few minutes and then it drops off sharply. You need to be brave for the first 5 minutes, and after that, you'll find yourself growing calmer and more comfortable. So here are the symptoms of nervousness: shortness of breath, unsteady knees, talking too quickly, fast heartbeat, quivering or weak voice, and a stiff or unnatural body language. All of these symptoms of nervousness can occur while presenting. What does nervousness feel like? Within the first few minutes, you overcome the fear and it turns into joy and comfort. Stage fright may or may not disappear, but it will definitely stop getting in the way of delivering effective presentations once you get used to it. So, here are the techniques to overcome nervousness. Redefine fear as adrenaline rush. So, our body releases adrenaline when we are nervous. To be precise, our liver produces adrenaline. So, when we recognize fear as adrenaline, we can translate nervousness to momentum and energy, and our brain is diverted into presentation and not into your tension or nervousness. So, stop thinking about yourself and focus on the audience. This way, you forget about your tension and nervousness. And the last technique, which is focus on the emotion that you want to convey, evade the fearful mental chatter by focusing on an emotion you want to convey. Identify the emotion with which you want to start your speech. Relieve the emotion by recalling it. Shut your eyes and put yourself there. Focusing on an emotion before the presentation is a powerful way to alleviate nervousness. Topic 8, Dealing with the Unexpected, which is the last topic of this series. Imagine the following two scenarios. Scenario 1. You have done everything to deliver an effective presentation. When you get to the venue, you find out that the projector is not working. What do you do? Scenario 2. You are in the room and ready to present. The projector is working, you've got your nerves under control, and you make a great start. Then someone asks you a question that perplexes you. What would you do? So, how do you handle such situations? Being questioned is an inevitable part of delivering a presentation. In fact, questions usually mean that your audience is interested. So, how can you tackle your audience's questions? So, just as you need to structure your presentation to make it effective, you also need to use a structured approach to respond to questions. Here are a few tactics for responding to questions. The first tactic, which is plan for possible questions in advance. So, rehearse answering possible questions in advance. Target the areas in your presentation which are confusing and controversial, and think of as many possible questions the audience might have. And don't discard possible questions just because they're silly or you think they're silly, because there is a slight chance that the audience might ask those kind of questions too. Here, you can use the analysis you made on your audience and anticipate the questions they might ask. And that is why I said that identifying your audience is very important. Also, collaborate with the stakeholders who requested this presentation to ensure that you have the right information to deal with the off the cuff questions. And this applies if you were requested by a requester on the presentation. This protects you and your stakeholders and makes you more confident while presenting. Answer the question briefly and clearly. When answering questions, don't introduce entirely new topics as they'll derail your discussion. However, you can add some rich details and few additional facts to reinforce your answer. Reserve complex answers for an offline discussion unless your audience needs an immediate response. In case you don't know the answer, avoid guessing. Be honest and tell your questioner that you don't know the answer. Offer to get back to the questioner with the answer. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, honesty is the best policy. And so you could say that I'm not sure, but I'll find out and let you know. State the question that was just asked. Avoid giving the impression that you are tolerating the question. Speak in a manner that welcomes questions. Repeat the question so that everyone can hear it, and the questioner can determine whether you have understood the question correctly. And ask for a clarification if you don't understand the question. Restate the question. Restate the question to ensure that you're on track and to help your audience remember both the question and the answer, especially when the response is elaborate. This applies after you have answered. So, for example, if we are talking about a particular scenario, we could say, so the user cannot log in unless the password has been verified to secure our computers from any cyber threat. So, this is our answer until here. And This is the question. So here we have restated both the question and the answer. And that should be your approach. But it also depends on the question and the answer. So the question and the answer could be different depending on the scenario. So here's one more scenario. Stephen is preparing for his presentation and is unsure about how he should handle questions he might receive from his audience during the presentation. So, what advice would you give to him? Option A, ask the audience what they want to do. Option B, let the audience ask questions when they feel like it. Option C, announce upfront how questions will be handled. Option D, put a question and answer segment at the end. So the correct option is option C, announce upfront how questions will be handled. And by the way, as a side note, even though the option D is also kind of correct, it's not the best solution. So now that this is the topic, let me tell you about when should you hold the Q&A segment. So you should be having few breaks in between the presentation where the audience can ask the questions. Not only does this prevent the audience from remembering the questions until the end, this also gives the audience and yourself the much needed break between the presentation. So here are the strategies to help you manage Q&A sessions. Include only relevant information in the presentation. Avoid adding too much information in your presentation, which may derail your presentation. Hold back details that might not interest your audience. However, if they ask for details, you can share relevant information. And state a frequently asked question and answer it. Use this strategy when you don't get questions from the audience. This primes the audience to ask questions. You can also refer to a particular point in your presentation, one that is likely to encourage a response, and ask your audience what they think about it. Respond politely to any question. Be polite with the questioner, even if the question is disorganized and rambling. Do not allow an off topic statement or question to throw you off your presentation. You can handle this situation by thanking the questioner, suggesting the correct alternative, and checking with the audience for other questions. And take questions offline if you're unsure. Avoid responding to questions for which you don't have answers. Tell the questioner that you'll address the question offline and respond to it later. If several members of the audience are interested in the answer, arrange for a short back of the hall meeting or a conference call to cover this material. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.